Thank you so much for staying tuned and welcome to a discussion segment on this morning on ITV. It's all about the security situation in the country. Yes, contending issues. Over the weekend, we got to hear some got to saw what really happened over the weekend, where we still have cases of kidnapping, cases of banditry, and of course exchange of words, or let's say exchange of ideas between two governors on the headers farmers clash. And to just top the cake, so to speak, yes, in Oyo State Sasha Market, we got to see two tribes at the throat of each other. I mean, it took the interventions of three governors to come together and move to that state to quell the squabble. And the president gave a stern warning that will not tolerate any ethnic or religious violence. Yes, still in this same country, people have been complaining about Boko Haram, complaining about insurgents, and so many persons are beginning to form splinters of groups to take care of the security apparatus when we talk about their regions. Will this go a long way to really salvage our security situation? These are the questions in the hearts of many Nigerians. Don't forget also about the weekend, the Occupy Lekki toll gate. It was a sight to behold, to get to see the way police really handled some protesters. And of course, the Commissioner of Police in Lagos State says those policemen that handled or manhandled protesters, they will not go unpunished. Well, my analyst will throw more light on this because it's bordering on the security situation in the country. With me here in the studio, I have a political analyst. We talk about Edo culture. He's like into it deeply. He was one time a squadron leader. Join me to welcome ex-squadron leader Ehi Egile. Welcome to TMI, sir.
Wakoyo.
All right, is anybody close to him? You know him as the voice of the masses, a political right activist, a human rights activist, a political analyst. Join me to welcome Austin Osakwe. Welcome to TMI. I appreciate your comment, sir.
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers.
All right. It's like the country is bedeviled by myriads of problems, all surrounding, according to many Nigerians, the security nature of the state. Some call it insecurity, some call it disturbance, some say that if it's not well handled, it may just be the beginning of the end of the entity called Nigeria. Some will say God forbid to that. All right, so over the weekends, when things transpired, even today, things are still unraveling when we talk about security situation in the country, contending issues. Let me start off from you, squadron leader. What do you feel about all this happening in our country?
What is going on goes on elsewhere, all over the world. There are always problems. I define the world as problem. As you're solving one, another one enters. Until you enter the grave, 14 days you don't wake up. The problem is over, but those who are living continue with the problem. What the country is going through, basically I would say, is due to lack of ignorance. Ignorance. Sorry, not due to lack of it, it's due to ignorance.
Okay.
Many of our people come up and say they are security experts because probably they own what do you call it, bank security outfit. That doesn't make them security experts. So they see ignorance there. Security of a nation concerns every citizen. Every citizen is responsible for the security of a nation. But here, because of our ignorance, we keep blaming one man, either the president or the governor or the minister for defense or the military commander or the police commander. But basically, security is the responsibility of every one of us, including you, Wilson, and my brother Sakwe, and I. I'll stop there.
For now, you hipped it on ignorance. Well, on whose part? When I come to you, tell me ignorance on whose part? Comrade Austin Osakwe, you heard him. He just gave an underlining word to encompass what we are going through. Ignorance. security situation in the country. What's your view on it?
I mean, it's fundamental that everybody has a responsibility to be part of the overall security architecture. Globally, security is for everybody. However, the reason we have a government is because in every community, in every society, you have those who resolve, for one reason or the other, to be antisocial. While the vast majority want to live in accordance with rules and regulations, you have others who believe that their own survival is predicated upon their ability and capacity to wreak havoc on others, to dispossess others of their property, to even snuff out the lives of others. That's the reality in society. So the reason you have a government is so that they deal with this few to make life easy for the majority. That's what government does across the world. It is not an accident that for over 20 years in this country, go back and look at our budgetary allocations. Security has always been the chunk of that allocation. There's education, there is health, there is housing, there is agriculture. But security has always had the highest allocation, highest single allocation to any sector for over 20 years, right from the military even into the civilian democratic dispensation. So that underlines the imperative of providing security for lives and property. So this is beyond what the individual can do. When we say that individuals should be involved in their own security, if in my locality I notice that there is somebody who looks like a criminal or whose movements are suspicious, my responsibility is to go to the Nigerian police or any other security outfit for that matter and report same. That's where my own responsibility ends. It is now the responsibility of the security agency to act upon that information. However, what we have had over time is that I no longer feel safe to go and make such report, because a few hours after I've made that report, the person comes to me to say, oh, so you went to the police or you went to that security outfit. Therefore, there is a dislocation in the thread that ties the people with the government. So the point we are making is that security has gone beyond people simply reporting. Security has gone beyond people simply counseling others to toe the line of sanity. We now have a situation where there is a clear and present danger. The insecurity we are talking about goes beyond mugging now. It goes beyond people breaking and entering other people's premises. We are now talking of massive deployment of individuals to deprive others of their freedom, hold them to ransom, and collect huge amounts. Across all the highways in this country, there's no area that is safe. We have gotten to a point where those who go to farms, their livelihood depends on their working on the farms. While they are on their farms, fellow Nigerians will lead cows. They are called herders. They will lead cows. Look, you and I grew up in this town. We grew up in this country. They have always been herders. They have always been cattle herders. They lead them to stream to drink water. They lead them to grasses to eat of the grasses. But what we have now is that massive farmlands are devastated because herders lead their cows to feed on crops. In Benin land, that is an abomination.
All right.
You lead cows to feed on crops. Now, added to that is the fact that, look at all the highways. The federal road that links Abuja, Kogi, Auchi, Okene, Ekpoma to Benin. It's one of the busiest highways in this country. We have gotten to a point where it has become almost impossible for people to travel on that route, because we now have situations where bandits, criminals who call themselves cattle rearers, they just move into the road, shoot at random, abduct people, and they ask for millions of naira. So I needed to underline this so that we understand the seriousness of our security situation.
All right.
It has gone beyond let us gather and come and discuss. When I hear the president say yesterday that, oh, they got to do a town hall meeting and all that, we have gone beyond that. We are kind of a spirit make. We have gone beyond that because people have been crying and shouting in this country that security situation was such that certain steps needed to be taken by government. Those who ought to have taken these steps did not bother to do so. As we get along this program, we want to look at some of these areas where these failures have come from.
All right. I will come back to you, Comrade Austin Osakwe. He has spoken at length because he gave an example of when he was a kid. After all, he grew up in the block. Most of us, we grew up in this block. You talked about ignorance. You talked about security being the responsibility of each and every one in the country. This ignorance you're talking about, on whose table lies the chunk?
First, it starts from, there are three segments. The federal, the state, and the local government. For effective security of a country, you have the military providing a secure umbrella over its citizens so they can go about their daily endeavor and do their things peacefully. After that, you have the police who actually mingle with the citizens, and they handle lesser security situations. Ideally, the local government should have its own local government, its own police. Also, a place like Benin City or Lagos or Kano or Nicha or Ibadan or Kaduna should have their city police. But we don't have that. So there's lack of knowledge regarding the security organization of a country. Again, another ignorance is that many of the problems we have, we do not have people going deeply to find out why this, why that, why is this happening, where is it coming from, how do we solve the situation? But we just complain around, day in, day out. No one really sits down to find out what is actually happening, what is the history, what has led to this, what are the solutions to it. So that is the aspect where I talk about ignorance. That we are not knowledgeable enough about, please permit me to give example of abroad, places abroad. When things happen, when even ordinary traffic, I came in through heavy traffic. I left my house since 7 o'clock. It took me 1 hour to drive down here. I used to drive it 15 minutes before. But there's a constant traffic hold up somewhere. No one is asking why. No one is asking how do we solve it. No one is even bothered about solving it. So there's ignorance all across the board, from the top to the bottom. That's where my take is, straight from the presidency to the local government level. There's ignorance about security issues. Even when it comes to fighting, let me be specific, Boko Haram. How come a whole military fighting insurgents for how many years they cannot overcome them? So how about a situation where a country should invade us or should fight? So we will not become as slaves to the people. But why is this happening? It's happening again because we do not have capable people at the helm of affairs. to actually know, you know. One time I read about, it could be false, but I read about it, so many generals promoted. So I said, what are these people doing to, how do you call it, to have all these positions, major general, 20, 30, doing what? It is one thing to study the act of war, you know, in the classroom, but it's another thing to actually put it into practical use in the real sense of war. So there's, I don't know. There's, may I use that word again? Lack of knowledge, which you might call ignorance, regarding the security. You know, the governor, the state governor, is supposed to be #1 security person in a state. All right, but guess what? He has no command over the military officers. He has no command over the police officer. He can only beg him to assist him. So a lot of things we don't know how to do, and that's why the security situation. There's another one. My brother spoke about headers. Guess what? 6 headers were caught in a state with the headers outfit and co with their sick and gone. This is a police DPO confessing to us that by the time they were taken to the police station and interviewed, they were not headers. They were people from Southeast, you know, who dress up like, you know, some of the kidnappers have been caught. There are no headers. Some are, I don't want to use ethnicity to colorate the various people, the kidnappers, the armed robbers, and co. They are not headers. So we lack some knowledge. You know, we got to go deep in to find out exactly what is happening, who these people are, then find out solution to the problem.
All right, thank you so much, Igile, for expatiating more on the ignorant aspect of it. Now, due to the security situation we find ourselves, and of course, like you know, hitting most of it, apart from Boko Haram, the latest right now, we have kidnappers, we have bandits, and of course, we have farmers, headers, clash, and some are tying it to the activities of the headers. And it led to 2 governors having a kind of a banter in our media. One is of opinion that Bala Muhammad of Bauchi State says, look, headers, they have the right to be armed, even with AK-47 to protect themselves, and of course, the cattle against cattle rustlers. Otom, on the other hand, the governor of Benue State, have a different view of this particular issue, saying that headers should be armed. What do you feel about that?
Incidentally, I Saturday I had addressed a World Press Conference on this matter. Perhaps to just reiterate the sentiments out there. I think the point to start is to define who the headers are. Elder here mentioned, you know, an occasion where people were called, they were not headers. Yes, so, I mean, it's possible you can have exceptions, but it is very clear, both from the reports of those who were kidnapped and released, the security reports available, those who have been arrested, witnesses from communities where these are happening, that what has happened is that the criminals who have invaded our forests and taken over our highways, they are either headers or persons who put on the toga of headers to perpetrate these crimes. Why would I pretend to be a header if I do not think that headers have some level of protection from crime, from prosecution? That's why I would take refuge in the toga, the umbrella of a header. We need to lay that foundation. There's no doubt at all that the security situation worsened by more than a notch when these headers' activity when the herders invaded our communities. No doubt about that. On the specific issue of Bala Mohammed, the governor of Bauchi State, I have put it in the public space and it's in the media that statement was reckless, it was divisive, it was provocative, and unbecoming of somebody of the status of a governor in a pluralistic society like Nigeria. That statement was capable of inciting people to embrace self-help. And I pray we do not get to that level in this country. If the governor of a state can come out to say, against constitutional dictates, that a group of persons, a segment of the population of this country, have a right to own, possess, and parade not just any arm. A person should know it more than myself. AK-47 rifles, ostensibly to protect cattle from rustlers. There are several holes in that statement, apart from the recklessness of that statement and the fact that it is inciting other Nigerians. Number one is that if you say a segment of the population have a right to carry AK-47 to protect themselves and their cattle, then my brothers who are farmers in the various villages across the 192 wards in Edo have a right to own AK-47 to protect themselves and their crops. That is the message that Bala Mohammed is sending, and it's a dangerous message. Because if you can protect your cattle, I can protect my crops. Because the cattle is your livelihood, the crops are my livelihood. That is what that statement is inciting. Number two is the fact that if you say cattle rustlers are disturbing your cattle, for God's sake, the practice across the world, establish ranches for your cattle. If cattle is bred in a particular area, feed the cattle, process it, and take it to other areas where people need meat. Cattle is for meat. Don't bring the whole cattle to me, thousands of kilometers across the land. No, sir. Keep your cattle, graze them where you are producing them, process them, and bring it to me down here to buy as meat. Look, if we want peace in this country between herders and farmers, this is the only way to go. You cannot parade your cattle into my farms, destroy my farms, and render me a pauper and hope that there will be peace. That is not going to happen. The third point to make is that whether we like it or not, and this is very instructive, all crime is local.
All crime
is local. Look at the tale of two governors, and let me present them. One of them is Bala Mohammed. Another one is Godwin Obaseki. Obaseki, looking at the security situation in Edo, decides to go and meet with the Hausa community, the various ethnic communities within the communities, after 4 people had died in Ugo. And he's discussing with them. And he's saying, look, we do not want to politicize the issue of security. All the headers, register so that we know who you are. If you are law-abiding, register, we will know. So that if there are persons who come under the guise of headers to come and perpetrate crime, we can recognize them and deal with them as criminals that they are. That's a governor who has elevated discourse to a level of maturity deserving of somebody who is a political head. Representing millions of people. You have another governor who decides that he must descend to the abyss, to the valley of mundaneness, and pick a few people and said, we will arm them with AK-47 to protect themselves. Are you seeing the tale of two governors? So that tells you the caliber of people that we have assigned the responsibility of protecting us, of providing for us, of managing our affairs.
All right.
All right. Finally, on this matter, sir.
Okay, right.
You see, there's what they call the hand of Esau and the voice of Jacob. As I speak to you, nobody in the presidency has rebuked or reprimanded Bala Mohammed for that statement. Nobody. whenever statements are made about certain people, they are right. When it's made against them, it's wrong. We can't run the country like that. The solution to the problem of this country as far as security is concerned is that the man at the head on whose table the buck stops must forget about body language. He must come out and be the president of the entire country and see the entire country as his constituency and see all the nation states within Nigeria as his own responsibility.
I'll come back to you, Comrade Austin. Well, squadron leader, you heard him.
Yes, sir.
Because he just brought up a tale of two governors. Over the weekend, it was like, two governors showing their opinions about these headers, and of course, farmers clash. One talked about arming with AK-47, while the other was like, look, what you're saying is not right. Now, but for what for Bola Mohammed, he said, look, this is to protect headers against rustlers.
Cattle rustlers.
Is there no point in this? Talking about protection of the headers. Doesn't he have a point in what he just said? Protect yourself. Protect your cattle.
That is
protect
why,
your life.
Yes, that is why
against cattle rustlers.
We must always look deeply into issues. You see, what the Bauchi governor is saying is not just him forming. It's a decision or it's a thinking of a group of people, but voiced out by one man. And as he rightly said, we shouldn't hide these things. We must be factual. We must tell ourselves the truth, that the president is not working to protect the country.
Well, you cannot say that he's working to protect the country.
That's my opinion. I have the right to say.
Even if it's your opinion, he's working to protect the country.
Freedom of speech. I have.
He's working, but he's not succeeding, unfortunately.
So I say this because what Bala, is it Bala they call him?
Bala
Bauchi, little rat, called.
Hold on,
okay.
Please withdraw that statement.
Pardon me.
Please. All right, thank you.
Pardon me. I withdraw that.
Okay.
He should have been cautioned openly by the presidency that you couldn't say that you want to bring war to the country. What he's saying, virtually what he's saying, is that the headers can carry military weapons. And even the police are not allowed to carry military weapons. They have a lower cadre of weapons that they carry. It's the military that carries AK-47 and weapons like that. They are lethal weapons. And the reason is that the military are trained, highly trained to handle those weapons. But when it goes into the hand of certain people who are not trained, they could use them anyhow. If you're on the street and watch a soldier walking along the street with a weapon, you will see his muzzle pointing straight up. Other people, custom, police, and co, they just, because they are given very little training. But the military, they are trained and retrained on weapons. That is their food. That is their
stock in trade, so to speak.
Yes. So thanks for the expression.
Yeah.
So for a governor to say that military weapons should be allowed to be carried by headers, what he's actually saying, as my brother rightly said, is that the weapon is the country is at war. Everybody should have military weapons. Because I remember reading on the papers somebody saying, no, it's not somebody, it was a governor. One of the governors said everybody should be given rifles. So just like in America, if you are coming to my house, you better think twice, because I have a wardrobe of weapons. And he too, he has. If I'm going to his house, even in the car, even in the nightclub where you are dancing, ladies have guns in their bags. So they don't put their bags and they hang them. The guys have guns on them. So before you mess up with anybody, you have to think twice. So Bala saying that is actually leading us my brother didn't want to use the word, is leading us to civil war, to war. Because when we start that, then everybody, even no one is safe anymore, including the presidency, including the state houses or government houses. Nowhere will be safe if everybody carries lethal weapons like AK-47, the Russian popular rifle used by many brigands, and So this is the situation. The presidency must call this person to order, must show the country that we are all one. Nobody is above the other. If my brother made that statement, guess what? In the studio today, before he gets home, he'll be picked up by the security agents. So why would somebody make such a pronouncement? And he's just left alone. Some people are even defending him. He's not alone. There have been so many other organizations, either religious organizations or ethnic or tribal organizations, either supporting or going against. So the country is in trouble. It's in trouble right now. Something has to be done. Something drastic has to be done to ensure that we don't go into a war, or what they call civil war, since it's an internal war.
All right.
That's my take on it.
All right, thank you so much, Squadron Leader Ehi Egile. Now take a look at the peculiar nature of the North. You get to hear about cattle rustling, cattle rustlers, and these rustlers, they are armed to the teeth, because that's the angle, according to him, he's taking it from. That is the reason why he's saying that these headers.
Where are the army? Why should a civilian be armed to the teeth?
All right, just hold on now. That's why I said the headers should be armed, at least not to match the power, or let's say the firing power of these cattle rustlers coming for their cattle. And of course, also in the North, also you get to hear about bandits. You get to hear about kidnapping. And these headers are not spared whenever this group of persons come to attack. Is it not making a point?
You see, this is interesting, and let me paint you a picture. The whole of eastern Nigeria is devastated by erosion. The solution to the erosion problem is to be found in the east.
The east, yeah.
Down south here, we have erosion. In the north, we have desertification. They are finding solutions to their problems. Okay? The cattle rustling that they are talking about is in the north. Should be in the north. In other words, you rustle cattle where cattle is bred and led to pasture.
Sorry, please use a simple language so viewers can understand. Cattle rustling means people coming to the cattle rearer and stealing their
cattle.
Okay, please go ahead.
Right,
so if what Bala Mohammed is saying is that in Bauchi, the cattle rearers there should have AK-47 to protect their cattle in Bauchi, is left to him and his people. We will not be concerned. However, the practice now is that they don't bother rearing their cattle there. I've heard the argument that they are looking for vegetation. It didn't start yesterday. We have always lived at peace and in harmony with those who rear cattle in the south here. Like I told you, I grew up here. They have always been cattle rearer. We see them lead cattle to stream. They lead cattle to grasses. They don't take over the school compound. They don't take over the school environment. I schooled in a place where there was no fence around the school. We did not witness cattle invading the school compound one day. Cattle were not led to farms to go and eat people's crops. Cattle rearers were not raping women on the farms. They were not killing and maiming people, the farmers on their farm. So when he says AK-47 to protect cattle, for God's sake, let the cattle be protected by AK-47 in the states, in the locality where the cattle is bred. Don't bring cattle here and arm the cattle rearers with AK-47. Incidentally, do you know that in the entire South, Bayelsa, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Edo, Delta, these 6 states of the South. There is no governor, there is no political leader who has said cattle rearers don't come to our place. None. Like I referred to Obaseki just now, he held a meeting with leaders of Hausa community and leaders of the cattle rearers, even the people they call Miyeti Allah, and said, look, let's find a way to live in harmony. We are one Nigeria. Let's live in harmony. Let us know who you are and what you do and where you do your business, so that we know when criminals infiltrate. We don't have a problem. We are not saying they shouldn't come, but a situation where right before our eyes some people armed having cattle in the bush will eat up all the crops. We rape women, we maim and kill young people. We say no, this can't happen, and it's happening across the entire South. You can see what's happening in Ibadan, you can see what's happening in Ondo, you can see what's happening in Ebonyi and several other places, in Delta, all over. Let me tell you, sir, we are students of history. Those who fail to remember their history, they are forced to repeat the history. The events which are playing out now are the exact same events that played out immediately before 1967, where we are now talking of people going back to their home, where those in authority were running with the hound, they were hunting with the hound and running with the hare. In other words, they became, political leaders became participants.
Could you please interpret so that others can gain from that vast
I didn't stay long enough in school to do that, but let me just attempt to say what I'm saying.
All right.
That way of paraphrasing.
Yes.
Those who are supposed to be arbiters,
yes,
those who are supposed to be mediators, who should represent everybody, are pretending to represent all. They are actually supporting a segment. So you see official statements that are clearly in support of segments. And I have said it again and again. The events that we are having now are no different from the events before 1967. And we know what happened for 30 months when we had an internecine civil war. I am praying every day, and I'm telling friends who are pastors, native doctors, prophets, imams who pray to pray for Nigeria, because the events are very clear. Why the people at the top cannot see it, it worries me. We need to prevent this, and the only way to do that is for those in authority to do the right thing. Maybe when we come to solutions to security,
yes,
I will outline what I feel should be the way forward.
All right,
but we cannot continue with this situation.
Now, on one hand, we have the Boko Haram. On the other hand, we have kidnappers. We have bandits. To top it all, we have farmers' herders clash. Is this not too much for our security operatives? How do you think they can really work to just bring it to the barest minimum? People like saying this is too much. It's too much for a country to bear, because take a look at every sector, every segment. You get to see one security situation, or will I say insecurity situation, in each facet of the country. How do we get out of this? Solutions now.
My brother started by saying, and it's a fact, that the biggest national budget, part of it goes to the military or for security. So the security outfit must be reorganized to be effective. What has happened is a failure of the security system of the country. One, the issue of an AK-47. Why would, look, once it's classified, you can't carry a gun other than double barrel or single barrel or a hunting gun. The security should be able to dispossess you of any weapon that is of higher capacity than the one specified. So what I see, my brother, is that there's failure in the security system of this country. That's why bandits can take over. That's why Boko Haram can take part of this country and say it's theirs. That's why kidnappers, that's why herders can go to the farms and do anything. They are security. There are people being paid for securing this country. There are people being paid for securing this state. There are people being paid for securing your area. There's a DPO, district police officer, being paid. So what is he doing? He should be held accountable. The AIG, the police commissioner should be held accountable. Guess what happened? Close to where my brother spoke about, the herders, they had no cattle, so I can't call them herders. But they were people believed to be herders, 6 of them. They tried to attack my village, and I asked the youth a counter-attack. And of course they did. They caught one of them, and the others ran away. But what am I talking about? What's the point I want to make? The point is that first I asked them to report to the police. They went to the police didn't go. They didn't go to the scene. So I said, okay, you have to defend your village. So the youth went and defended their village. So there is failure in the security system. It shouldn't be so. You report to the police move there, have these people arrested, remove their guns and go and to the armory. If it's too much for them, they send for reinforcement. Okay? If it's too much for them, the military are now called in, and the problem is solved. But you don't have this now. You are on your own. If you are attacking your house in Benin City, no one is going to help you. Your neighbors can't help you because they are locking themselves up for their own security. You call the police, they tell you we are coming. There's something happened in our street, and I am the one who called the police. I called 4 times, 6 times. They said, we are closed there now, sir. We are closed. For 2 hours, we didn't see them. They now came about 2.5 hours after the robbers had left. Then they had asked us, including me, lie down. I said, shut up. You mean lie down for, They said, where are they? So that kind of situation, we must tell ourselves the truth. We must not be afraid to tell the truth. The Sadana of Sokoto, Ahmadu Bello, said the greatest weapon in this world is truth. So tell the truth. The security outfits are not working. They are not working effectively. They could be working for themselves. They are not working for us. They are not working to secure the city. They are not securing the state. They are not securing the nation. So they should be held accountable. And whoever is in charge of them, I guess it should be the president, should be held accountable for the insecurity in this country. We must talk. If we have to die, we die. But the truth must be told that the president is not performing well regarding the security issues of this country. Why, many people, or not many people, some people, even some members of National Assembly, call the president, remove the security chiefs.
I think he has
because if they are not performing well, they should not be there. They even overstay their time. Now they want to be ambassador. What kind of thing is it? And no one is talking. No one is talking. We are all scared to death. Even retired generals are scared to talk. Governors are scared to talk. We must tell this man the truth, that he's not doing well. It's that way, there's a Benin adage that if you step on someone's toe, all right, his right toe, and he doesn't complain of any pain, then you join the other leg and step on his left foot. So we are not complaining. We are just taking things. We are afraid. Let them go wait for me on the road, kill me, then let me go.
Nobody
But I
will
will
kill
tell
anybody.
you today
Nobody will kill anybody.
the presidency is not
anybody.
working there. It is not doing what it should do. That's why all of this. So, some people feel, well, the person in charge of the country is my tribal man, so I can do anything. It shouldn't be so. No. I've had position in this country. Let me tell you about the Federal Road Safety Commission. One day we were on patrol, and one of the boys came to me and said, excuse me, sir, your mommy and her driver, they're in the car. Should we let them? I said, no. You must check my mom. You must check. Like everybody. I'm working for the whole country.
All right.
Not for my family.
All right.
Yes.
For what you said, the presidency is not doing enough in terms of security.
No, I said it. Quote me. Put it on there.
Osakwe, comrade, so what do you feel about there's a solution right now? Because it's like it's a heartbreaking situation. People are really scared to even travel, like what you said at the beginning of your analysis. They are scared from moving from one point to the other in a country called home.
Apart from the work that we have done within our organization, the Foundation for Good Governance and Social Change, I also have the privilege of heading the Policy Advocacy Committee of the Niger Delta Dialogue for the entire South-South. And we have come up with certain recommendations. And we outlined them again. We have said them again and again. Number one is that we must renegotiate our federal arrangement. This federal arrangement is not working. This is not federalism. A situation where, for instance, in allocation, the federal government collects over 50%. One federal government collects over 50% of total revenues. And then 36 states, one federal capital, 774 local governments are made to share less than 50% of the same revenue. It's slavery in our own land. It is slavery. We need to renegotiate this federal arrangement. Our people will not fear to negotiate, but they will never negotiate out of fear. That's what I grew up believing. So we have to decide, how do we want to live together? There are several nation states in Nigeria. Do we want to continue to live together as Nigeria? Let us renegotiate the basis upon which we live. That's one. The second is that, look, whether we like it or not, we can delay it. We must revert to state policing and community policing. Look, this federal police system has totally failed. We can be pretending ourselves, like the proverbial ostrich. We can bury our heads in the sand and pretend that everything is okay. This federal police arrangement is not working. Look, the average, let me take one of the villages, perhaps Somoika, or Eko, or Igbobazuwa, or Igwebe. Take any of these places. Go to the station and find out the DPO where he is from. Find out where the DPO is from. How are you going to tackle crime in a community that you are a stranger to?
He's alien.
You don't know anybody. You don't know the culture. You don't know how the people live.
The language.
You don't know the language. You don't know the land. So the federal policing is not working. First, governors must be in charge of the police system. I hear people say, oh, if they do it, governors will abuse it. They will use it for political. And I say, what are they using it for now? What are they using the police for now? When we selectively arrest people, when there's a protest, we go and sponsor another protest. We are not aware. They are already using it, so what are we talking about? In any case, let us start with them using it. Then we will now fight the governors because they are our own. So that the system, look, matter is in a constant state of motion. There's what they call the law of negation of the negation. So that the system can correct itself over time, but let's have a system that works. Number three, let me talk to our elite. I'll use Edo State. All those of you who have run away from your villages, it is to your shame now. Your villages have been taken over by strangers. And they are coming in droves every day. Trailers bring them.
Why?
They have replaced you in the villages. You have run away from your villages.
Oh, they have deserted.
You have abandoned the farms. You have abandoned your homes. You don't go back on Christmas. You don't go back on New Year. You don't go back on Valentine. You don't go back on Independence Day to go and celebrate with your people. The youths have fled into the city. Everybody wants to do Yahoo. Strangers have taken over your cities, your villages. That's why they are doing what they are doing. If you want to correct the situation, let us retrace our steps and organize the communities along those communal streets with which communities were organized when I was growing up. Number 4 is that all crime is local. The governors of states, the chairmen of local governments, they must go back and organize communities. There must be a community ownership strategy in such a way that, look, why do you think the governor visited Ugo? Because he realizes that if you want to fight the crime there, you must go back there. You must go back there. All crime is local. The solutions, therefore, must also be local. They must be community driven. That's where we should be going. Our communities must get involved. These headers or the criminals who are kidnapping people, don't they drink water? They get from the community. Don't they buy provisions? They buy from the community. When we are ready to protect ourselves, we know what to do. Our elders in the villages, let me call upon you. I grew up here. I know that if you go back to what God blessed us with, which is African science. African science. If you go back and you unearth it, there are things you will spray in the air. We won't need to fire one gun. The strangers who came will also go back the way they have come.
Thank you, thank you. We don't want to go to
lastly, no, but it's African science. Look, you see, the Oyibo man, the Oyibo man has witchcraft. He calls it science. Our own African science, we call it witchcraft, and we abandon it. The point I'm making, sir,
is called Utagba.
Utagba. God bless you, sir.
You throw it.
Finally, sir.
Yeah.
When people believe, my father told me, translated, sir, when people are aware that no matter what they do, there are no sanctions, they will continue to do them. There are no sanctions at all. The complaint among people outside is that when they arrest, they take to the station, they are released the next day. So when you say don't take the law into your hands, don't do this, haven't you look at the videos that are being circulated? The common thing people keep saying, so why some are saying, let's take them to the police. The majority will say, don't take them, then they will release them. They will release them. It's an incitement to self-help. We must not allow the situation to degenerate to a place where individuals will now want to protect themselves. We can't afford it.
Thank you so much, gentlemen.
May I quickly chip in?
Okay, briefly, because our time is up. Briefly. Yes.
My brother was appealing to our people. You know, I also want to continue on that appeal, but with more details. Do you know some of these cattle are owned by our people? They invaded my land, and I got them, made them to kneel on the ground, and the headers told me, I said, who owns this? They said, they are owned by Chief so. I was shocked. And I said, why are you doing this? He said, he told them to go feed them anywhere they saw grass, they should eat. So I said, no, you can't do that. You can't do. If I see you in my land again, you will, you know.
Some have sold their land to headers.
Thank you.
No, wait, let me quickly.
Okay, quickly, our time is up.
The other one is that we have sold many of our lands to non-indigents. So you can't drive them away. The other one is what he said, we abandon our villages. Guys, who are the people in our villages now? Our houses, a northerner is living in our house in the village. They are the ones doing the farming for us now. We pay them, they do the farming.
Thank you.
So we've got to go back to our land and reason and reason.
Thank you so much,
we
gentlemen.
must take care of our own land.
I appreciate a wonderful analysis. It's all about security situation in the country, contending issues. They've spoken at length. The problems and, of course, the solutions. What do you think will come out of this? When you listen, you get wiser. I don't want to speak Edo language right now. When you
better speak it before
when
I
you
write
listen, yes, when you listen, you get wiser. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate a wonderful analysis, top notch. But whatever you heard them say is their opinion. It has nothing to do with ITV. But we make sure the full rules and regulations governing the airwaves. Security is a responsibility of everyone. If I do my part and you don't do your part, tell me, which way do you think we will go? Because like a chain, if arrests were made and have been released the following day, are you encouraging security? Think about it. If you sell your land to a particular a group of persons to come do business, it could be headers or anyone, you're not checking their activities. You're the one contributing to insecurity. Don't you know that? Anyway, Baroyo Sao is standing by to throw more light on this particular thought. Don't go anywhere. Do stay with us.